All right. So I really want to frame this with why AI, why now, ground us in that, right? So AI is not a new thing. The first AI boom was actually back in the 50s. So we had artificial narrow intelligence. Very, very minimal intelligence, right? But we still use it today. So one of the things that you'll find that still, in self-driving cars. The sensors are actually using ANI today, been around since the 50s, to make decisions, right? Steer right, steer left, hit brakes, that kind of a thing. Very, very minimal intelligence, but it does those, minuscule things very, very well. So then we have the second AI boom. Starts in the 70s, runs into, early 2000s as it kind of dies out again, and that was machine learning. So we actually have someone up here very well versed in machine learning, Chandra, built an entire tool around that and how it can be used in cybersecurity. But again, it is not generating new content, right? And that's where we hit our third AI boom with generative AI. So that's where we're in now. As you can see, the bubble is a lot bigger this time, and as we've been talking about now for 2 days, it's got a lot of staying power. Really why the first couple of AI booms died off is because the expectations weren't met. We wanted it to do a lot more than it could. Today, it can do a lot of things. It can do a lot of things, and almost anything you could ask it to do, it can generate. Does it always do it well? No, but we can teach it, so that's the beauty of it. So why now in cybersecurity? Threat volume is outpacing what humans are able to do. We're all being asked to do more with less. Continuous thing, right? We're always kind of trimming down, but we need to do more work. We need to funnel more data. That's exactly where AI shines. We can digest large amounts of data. We can make it very digestible, and then we introduce the human in the loop to interpret and make real decisions that maybe are a little bit more impactful than we're willing to trust AI to do. So it enables the speed, scale, and consistency across detection, triage, and response. Again, we're automating things, but we're not replacing a human in the loop. We're augmenting them. So we need those experts to do the high impact work. And in cybersecurity, among other fields, we see that more than anywhere else, right? Like so healthcare, finance. We want AI to do the work. We want to make the decision in a lot of cases, right? And make sure that it's an ethical decision, which is one of the big controversies in AI. Is it ethical? Can you explain it? So there's where we come in. So compliance and risk frameworks are always evolving. We've seen new regulation, a lot of it around AI, more than ever, right? GDPR updated now to include AI. NIST has, released the AI RMF. So there's now frameworks around it. We're going to be expected to comply. Well, we can also use AI to figure out where our gaps are, do a gap analysis, maybe even cost predictions to get there. And then, again, human judgment, that's the differentiator. You've still got to have the expert in the field. You've got to have somebody that can interpret maybe the simplified data that is dropped by the AI. So before we get into any specific tools, and now that we're grounded in the why, I want to ask my panelists here, what challenges in your teams made AI adoption inevitable?
Yes, so thanks, Matt, for giving a great intro there.
I think you got to slide the switch.
Somebody turn it on for you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys. So as Kyle pointed out, we are on the third wave of AI, but one thing you have to kind of keep in mind that if you want to do a lot of things with AI in the real time, that's right, and where you have millions of telemetry coming in, you cannot do that. So one thing you have to realize that AI is something where you learn it, and then you pass the judgment based on that. So that's why there is always you have to keep in mind that you will need different type of tooling capability to get the AI to do what you want to do. So one thing I will share with you guys that when we started the Seceon, at that time, Gen AI was not even a name, which we started in 2015, but there was something called NLP, which was taking place. It's at the end, NLP got to the point where you can learn a lot, and it kind of gave the birth to the Gen AI, a lot more than NLP in the Gen AI. But what we were doing at that time is three things we realized that, most of the cybersecurity people were doing different silos product in there, and any of the breaches, the attacker also know that, hey, if I can go and find the gap between the multiple solutions. So think about JP Morgan, who was spending $1.2 billion. They got breached and they did not know about it. They have about 1,200 people employed in the cybersecurity. So forget about anybody else. So what was the key was look everything into the common context with the situational awareness and how you can bring the situational awareness to throw out the sparse noise and look into the background shift. That is something you can do with the domain-specific AI. And what the domain-specific AI means is you are looking into the telemetry from that domain and putting those into the context with the situational awareness, add machine learning to make an Iron Man approach in there, as well as dynamic threat models, not something, a rule-based engine that, hey, if I will do 5 failures, and then there will be alert in there. The problem with the 5 failures is each of those attackers, they also know how to kind of stay underneath and pretty much breach whatever they want to do. So it's really critical if you look into the cybersecurity point of view, or even in that case, if you go into any other domain, there are domain-specific work you have to do. Then there is a lot of talk about agentic AI, which is also kind of giving you capability. If you look into a cybersecurity point of view, it gives you triaging capability. You can look into many of the data from the different angles, which are already filtered from those millions of data. And then you can pass on the judgment on top of that, as well as what you are able to do is now you can use your Gen AI to educate the people who are using it and make their decision very efficiently. So they can be making a decision 10 times faster, 20 times faster than what they would have been able to do in the past. That's right. And always you are adopting and learning, because this is something, as Kyle pointed out, one thing I do want to repeat, guys. AI can do the work under your guidance. AI cannot be your guiding force. So you have to have, anytime you are using the AI where the decisions are being made of any significance, you want to have a human who understand what decisions, and they are the one who are guiding force, not the AI kind of, because AI is also lazy. One thing I want to make sure, guys, AI is also, you hear it clearly, AI is lazy, and any of the, LLM vendor, their goal is not to give you depth of the analysis and all that in there. So that RAG AI as well as Gen AI, those are lazy systems. So you have to be the one who are driving the intelligence out there, or you are creating your own local LLM, and that is the one who is kind of passing the decision with the guardrail created by you. If you leave it to on its own, you will shoot yourself in the foot, and that will happen very frequently.
Rob, do you have anything to add?
Hard to follow up, but could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So what challenges or situations made AI adoption inevitable for you and your team?
For me, on a personal level, it's when I became an engineer to an escalation engineer, because I already had a heavy workload, and that workload was only going to get heavier. Not only was it going to get heavier, but I was going to deal with more severe cases. And I needed to find a way to work efficiently and be effective. I will admit that I was not an early adopter of the whole ChatGPT, Gemini. I was reluctant because the masses were jumping to it, so I tend to stay back. But the escalation role really made me take that step forward. And I'll just give an example of something that happened where ChatGPT AI really helped. Had an escalation, was told there's VPN traffic dropping, take a packet capture, I see two-way traffic. I don't see anything going on here. Although I do see unfamiliar ICMP traffic. That's odd. I start to put that to the side, but I ask ChatGPT, this is what I'm seeing. Why am I seeing this ICMP packet? Oh, it's an RFC saying, hey, lower your window size. The MTU is too high. They were blocking ICMP on the other end, being the source, so they weren't lowering it. And the way to resolve that on our end was to lower MTU on our side.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, Rob. One more question. What do you think is misunderstood about AI's role in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so if you look into, I think some of these things were mentioned by Kyle yourself, that AI is not going to replace human. It's going to make human highly efficient. But then on top of that, you also have to realize the attack vectors. Because cybersecurity is one domain where you always have to keep in mind that this is not a functional problem which you are trying to solve. Because cybersecurity is a lot of people will call it a journey and all that. But at the end, if you think about it, your competition or your work is not a functionality like I'm doing a router, switch, or firewall, or I'm doing application. That application is supposed to do A, B, C, D. It might be billing, CRM. I can keep on tweaking a little bit, but that is a functional work. Cybersecurity is not a functional domain where you can go in and see a lot of those functionality you hear today that, look, 10 years back, nobody wants to call it, there was nothing called NDR. There was nothing called SOAR. EDR name came out probably 15 years back. There was nothing called EDR before, that's right. There are many other things, you know, like cloud security, container security, like you got it in there. And many other things. It's like even management of like your workload on the cloud, because most of the breaches are happening on the cloud, kind of like, you know, privilege getting stolen and people are able to do. So it's not a functional business. So what you have to keep in mind in the cybersecurity side, a company A and B and C is not your competition. Your competition is those threat actors and APT. And you have to be always keeping that, hey, what they are doing, because threat actors, without even knowing how to write a single line of code, they can direct the AI tools to know all the vulnerabilities, also know about the customer environment. Even if you can do, if you have a little bit intelligence in there, you can even find out, not 100%, but 80% what the customer is using. Even before going into the customer door, knocking on door, getting inside, you will be able to find out what are the tools that they are using and can create a tool how to bypass that. In Japan, just to give you an idea, there was a person who used to work in factory, never gone beyond 10th grade, have done zero coding. That person created a malware and which got almost 300 organization, manufacturing organization down, shut down for almost a month. And this is like a public out there. So the point is, look, cybersecurity, you always have to think about that. You are not looking for, oh, I got this function, that function done. You always have to think about how the threats are evolving and then how you are able to go and tackle those threats. So see, I'll give you an example because you see, from our point of view, we are in a business. We know that you might be hottest company today. Within 2-3 years, when the customer get educated and all that, they will walk away from that company if they are not doing a good job. So what do you have to do in that case? You have to keep in mind that, look, if you are monitoring a lot of things, you know it, but also publicly, there is a lot of information out there where you can put the researchers, and those researchers can take public as well as your local information to say that, hey, these are the innovations we have to do. It's innovation business. Cybersecurity is an innovation business. It is a journey, what people used to call it. A lot of time, you don't realize that what that journey is, because the other side is marching faster, they are more motivated. And who are those people? Those people you hear about ransomware and all that in there, that ransomware is only 2% of the problem you know. The biggest problem is your intellectual property, your trade secret, your organizational secret. You are doing a bed, somebody stole your bed, and they are able to go in and just go below you. What do? That's right. Similarly, government organizations, they are losing a lot of information. The friends and foes, everybody in the government, geopolitical region, they are going and picking and poking, and they want to know everyone what they are doing. So cybersecurity point of view, I'll say definitely point out, guys, it's an innovation you have to be doing day in, day out. It's not a functional business that, hey, I have got the best firewall, best EDR, best best SOAR, and I'm kind of done. Because that, anybody assumes that company and that organization and your own organization, if thinks that, hey, we have done everything, we are most secure, is going to let you down. And that will happen sooner than the later.
Rob, anything to add on what may be misunderstood about AI's role in cybersecurity?
No, I'm right there with him as far as my experience with colleagues is the whole idea of jobs being stolen. And as it's been said time and time again, it's not going to be AI stealing your job. It's going to be those who are willing to utilize AI to be more efficient versus those who are not.
I'd take it a step further and say it's those that are willing to use it to learn than those that are not. Being efficient is one thing. Learning new skills faster is something that has been revolutionary for me and just my practices with AI.
Yeah. Very well said, by the way. That is because the AI makes you very efficient. Learning kind of look, some of the things I would have never imagined I can learn in my life, not only in the cybersecurity. Any domain I want to learn about it, any market. It might be not only I live in the US, but I want to know about some other market in there. I can go create my model, I can get the knowledge, and 90% of the things I want to learn about that market, I can learn within a couple of hours, which previously if I had to do, it could have taken many, many months. Sometimes I would have never been able to do it.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Chandra. So then we get to make the case for AI as a cybersecurity force multiplier, and I may not have to sell it to the people in this room, right? But maybe I do. So we're going to do our best, right? The challenge, again, the threat volume and the threat actor activity outpacing humans. We need to speed, scale, and get consistency through AI. Free the experts up so that they can do the interpretation, make the decisions. Work maybe has been done to some degree. We validate that and we take action. And we need to make sure that we stay ahead of the evolving threat landscape, compliance demands that are coming with it, and again, amplify that human expertise. So then we get into the practical application in cybersecurity of AI. So AI is already at work in a lot of ways, right? So we see it in our detection engines mainly, right? For machine learning, we see it in every AI, SIM tool that comes out now. They're breaching their AI capability. Every endpoint detection platform is going to have some kind of a machine learning model where they're constantly evolving how they detect the heuristics, right? And look at not only endpoint behavior, but user behavior. Right, so we see that at work today. Almost every tool, again, you see is trying to preach as a differentiator. It's not a differentiator anymore. It's almost everywhere. Again, it's at work for us every day in the tools that we use. And one of the more emerging places that I see, SOAR and hyperautomation are getting a lot more attention today. We have a lot of people realizing that these tools can be explainable and they can be put to use for us. There were a lot of people that didn't necessarily want to go lock users out of Intra ID without knowing it was happening up until recently. It's something that we're seeing a lot more organizations become aware of and start to trust that those actions can be taken and maybe not shut down operations during peak times. So we often talk about AI as a futuristic thing and you've heard it now again for 2 days that it's not. It's here. We're using it every day. And, I'd like to ask my panelists, what AI-driven tools and features have become indispensable in your technology stack?
Yeah, so Rob, you want to go first?
Sure.
Go ahead.
For me, it's basically just that anything that has behavioral analysis to it, such as the Seceon platform, where we don't have to chase down false positives.
Yeah, and you see, from the our point of view, look, there are so many features are out there. That's one thing you have to keep in mind that, when you are trying to do something, any of the telemetry, there is a number of features. We know people will talk about how many tokens. Because see, any of the AI tools, LLMs, that's right. LLMs, there are kind of versions you can go ahead and install it at your place. It might be this 77 billion, it might be 150 billion, or maybe even bigger. The thing is, you always have to keep in mind the way any LLM learns. It, just like a human, when you read a book, certain part of the things you extract from the book, and other part, as you need to know, you go and refer to. That's right. So when you use just like ChatGPT or any Gemini or Copilot and all that, a lot of things you might be asking which it have never had opportunity to learn. So that case, they have to go back and learn and all that. And they have to have the raw data where it can be learned. If the raw data is not there, just the quick learning in there, it is just going to rotate in that. And it will give you, and it will lead you into the wrong path. So you always have to make sure that you are not kind of like, start kind of have like your pot and whatever you have it, and your whole cooking is going on that, and there is a new information is not getting enhanced and all that. So always have to keep in mind. Similarly, in the cybersecurity domain, as we have been talking about, there is many functionalities are changing and all that. I'll give you guys a very simple example, which any one of us in the IT and cybersecurity high-tech domain have to deal with. So if you go into today's identities, you might have 20 different identity based on how many applications is being used in your organization. Some place you might have your first name, last name at your domain.com. Some place you might have your first name only. Some place you have first name, last name. Some place you might have even number as an ID there as well. That's right. When you are looking from the security point of view, all of that same user has so many identity, and the data you are ingesting from where? From those applications. When you have to tie them together, this is the same person. This is the same Rob or same Chandra, which has like 20 different kind of telemetry coming in with the 20 different name, but it has to be correlated together. These problems, because see, the reason the problem also exists is, because when these tools were being developed, nobody thought about security from this angle that, hey, we have to look into, because the same people will be kind of going willy-nilly to collect the information, exfiltrate it, and go and do whatever they want. Today I was just reading a few minutes back, there was a news that Harvard lost 7 terabytes of the data. That's right. So all the patient information had been lost, and they confirm it, because first they kind of blackmailed them, and the Harvard confirmed that, hey, it had been lost. That's right. What do you think? Harvard does not have security solution. They have a security solution, but do you have a security solution who was able to monitor? Because this kind of data exfiltrations, you should be able to catch if you have right set of the solution. But nobody is looking from that picture point of view. That's right. So industry has to start thinking about that, hey, there is a different way to look into the cybersecurity as a problem, because it's not a specific function problem. We have to look into the holistic view that how easily your set of the solution, if you're doing in the silos basis, can be bypassed. And that is something you always have to keep in mind and ask that question that, hey, either somebody got in over here, are they able to walk in willy-nilly everywhere else or not? If they are, we don't have a solution, let's go fix it, So that's where basically AI can even help you that. But the thing is, the problem is, you have to know what the question you want to ask the AI, what data you want to bring, and what features you want to track. Because the feature tracking is what is going to be the key things. If you don't know what features I want to kind of build upon my models, then you once again will be like solving one problem, but you are overlooking the other problems. That's what it is.
Awesome. And we actually did have a question in the app that I want to answer because it may be relevant for a lot of people. Machine learning and what we typically reference as AI, we're always talking about generative AI. Generative AI is your ChatGPT, your Gemini, it creates new content. Machine learning is that you've got two different families there. You've got unsupervised and supervised. Supervised, you've got to feed labeled data, and then it can make predictions on future new data based on that. So that's where you hear your garbage in, garbage out a lot of the time. You give it incorrect labeled data, and it's going to incorrectly label new data. Whereas generative AI, it's aware of almost everything, right? Like we've taught it all of the internet in a lot of cases. Like your chat GPT, it's going to go learn what it maybe doesn't already and create new content. So again, machine learning is just going to make predictions based on what it knows, or maybe it's been taught an algorithm to do so. All right. So AI, in a lot of ways, has taken us from fighting fires day in, day out, right? Smoke jumping, a lot of us call it. You're into one thing and you're on to the next. We're chasing incidents after they happen. We're looking at indicators of compromise. Would have been more relevant as it was happening, right? And we could have stopped it rather than found out, because this workstation is now encrypted, or many other ways that we find it, right? User clicked that phishing email. But AI, in a lot of ways, has allowed us to move into being more proactive with those things. We see them as they come in. We're able to maybe isolate that way ahead of time before it's an actual incident, right? So we've seen that, again, with our endpoint detection, with our SIM platforms, and even with things like anti-phishing mechanisms. And then we have the feedback loops. We hear, obviously, if the detection didn't work, and then we can improve those predictive models. So that last part is something I really want to key in on, right? Because we're able to be proactive and stop these things with AI. We can only improve that with the human input. So I want to ask my panelists here, where have you seen predictive AI truly change incident response outcomes, and how does that help analysts get ahead of attacks rather than drown in alerts?
I don't have a thorough answer that Chandra here will have, but that proactive versus reactive. Too often find ourselves in the past to be reactive. The AI has really helped us in the proactive status.
Yeah, and as Rob pointed out, look, you should never assume that if you look into the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and that's where the kill chain is called kill chain and all that in there, what is your goal is, first up to 5-6 stages in there, you are able to kill. If you can kill it, nothing has happened, you go in, you kind of make your environment much more better and all that, and that is what you want to do. From the proactive point of view, because some of the compromises might have happened not even in your organization. Somebody is like dumped some data, is dumped somewhere else. You cannot do anything about it. That's right. So you just have to keep in mind that you do not want, that data collections happens and then exfiltration happen, and then only when that encryption are happening, somebody creates that, it's like 50,000 notifications that hey, data is fast access are happening for encryption. That detection is too late in the game. You don't want to be that place. You want to detect into when the recons are going on in there, where that people are trying to kind of do the CNC, they are trying to do the lateral movement and all that. So there are 6-7 stages. That's what the proactive point of view, you want to make sure. Other thing is, I'll give you a very simple example, because I think this is Carl was pointing out and Rob pointed out as well, that where you sit into the solution, you also know that, hey, how this thing have gone up to, because you want to kill it into the early 1, 2, 3 stages. You don't want to get too late into the game as well. So also you want to find out that, hey, all these threat actors and APTs, those are the things, and then some hacktivist and all that. Those are mostly to bring the things down, slow you down for some period of time. Those are DDoS guys in there. But mostly what your goal is to know how to simulate them as well. Because one of the things, and this is something, what is going to happen. Even like solution you get, like where you are able to put the ADR agents and all that, they will, not today, but you will hear within a year or two, they will have a capability to even go in and do your threat actors and APT level simulation in your environment and see where you are catching them and how you are catching them or if you are not catching them. Because that gives you opportunity to make your cybersecurity, like reduce your risk, give you resiliency, because resiliency is the key, that you don't want to have the operation goes down because you kind of like, we all depends on those operation being continuous 24/7. And then like, meet the compliance, because compliance is the big driver, because if the government is not there to looking for compliance, each one kind of assumes that, hey, it didn't happen to me, so it's like, why I should spend any money on it. So always from that point of view, that proactive detection is a key, but proactive detection does not stop that, hey, it's like I detected this and that, because there's so many new things are coming, so many new, like, that tactics and techniques and sub-techniques out of those matter framework are evolving, and you have to have a capability where you are able to play and just look into your environment. Before somebody comes to attack you, you should know that, hey, this thing we will be able to block. We will be able to tackle it in the proactive manner, early steps and stages, and that is the key. And that is something, if you look into, it's like right now nobody is talking much about it, it's going to be happening very soon. Because that is the best way to kind of like simulate it. You hear that, typhoon is all over. It means they took the data from all of the US kind of like telecom guys. And each one of us are attached with one of those telecom, whether we are today, we had it before in the past and all that. They have all the data about us. All of those data are on those APTs and threat actors. They have already taken it. And that you should always assume. It has already gone. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chandra. All right, so maybe for the 15th time, I'm going to say human in the loop. We always want to make sure that we've got a human in the loop. And a couple other key factors with AI and cybersecurity that I typically hone in on. Explainability. Why are we making the decision? Why is the AI making the decision? Why do we need it? Always start with the why, but then we need to be able to explain the action, right? But then, bias in models is going to equal bias in defense. If we have trained it incorrectly, if that machine learning algorithm is got bias in it at any point, it's going to make incorrect decisions, which that leads to operational downtime, that leads to lost revenue, and none of us want to have that conversation with our CEO. So human validation ensures the ethical and accurate decisions of AI, and we can continuously validate that it's explainable. And then we've already got governance frameworks around AI, right? Like I was talking, AI RMF is out from NIST. ISO has now released 42001, which, we're all familiar with the old 27001, 27002. We've now got that for AI specifically. Global recognized for the most part, right? That's what you're going to be looking at. And I would expect those to grow. I would expect them to be factored into things like PCI, SOC 2, things that we all kind of go through audits for, right? Some people in the room are probably looking at CMMC. All of these frameworks are probably going to integrate AI controls in the future. So I'm going to ask my panelists here, what's the right balance? Where have you found the right balance between AI action and human review?
Yeah, so if you look into, I think one thing I will add on to what Cal just pointed out, that even whether it's a CMMC or PCI DSS, or you are looking into any of those cybersecurity means like framework, there are different countries have different framework as well. Means like in our platform, I will say that, when we started doing it, we wanted to put the workflow, because we have 950 digital connectors, so we can, digital part you were always able to do, but from what he pointed out, where we brought the AI, because if you look into, for organization, nobody loves doing these framework compliance, because it's a very tedious work, a lot of documentations, a lot of questions, you have to show the proof, and then you have to document if you are not able to show the proof that when it is going to come and all that. So what we did is, we said, okay, this is a really good work for the AI to do it. And then we put our AI, Sera AI engine in there. We educated them on the, not only on the digital part, but also on the people, process, manual, documentations. What is happening is your building has a lock, when the locks are kind of like getting changed, how frequently keys are getting replaced and all that. So there is an intelligence got fed into the platform, and now what it does it, if you give a fake information, sometimes you take same document, each one of you guys know that what happens is accidentally you will take same document and load into the 3 different controls, say no, you got it wrong, you don't have it right, and it will kind of say that, hey, also remind you and all that, so you have that kind of intelligence. One of the things is, as biasness is concerned, look, these LLMs, okay, are as good as the what data was fed and then what they read it for the first time. So how you kind of remove the biasness is when you are, because what you are supposed to do, if you want to train it for a particular purpose, you are going to write set of your hundreds of questions, sometimes thousands of questions, sometimes even more. That's right. And those questions have to be asked, and then you have to give a feedback that this answer was not right, answer should be so and so. Even you had given the data, it is reading from that, but it is not giving you right information. So, and then you have to kind of biasness has to be removed from that data set. So training the AI is a work. What you get output today, you get it output. Most of the people, if you look into, they are using AI as a grandma style. You gave something, you gave the output immediately, you are very happy. But when you are doing the actual work, you are not using a grandma style AI because you are looking to create something which is meaningful, have a depth in there, then you are giving a feedback. So it's like it does your 60% of the job. That 40% of the job intelligence come from you.
Yeah. I would agree, right? We need to gain all of the efficiency that we can. We need to make sure that the human is still there to validate that, right? Because it's not all an efficiency gain. If you have started to trust the AI to the point where it's making wrong decisions, we're enforcing that, then you're going to lose all that time. It's all coming back for you.
I know you do a lot of learning and self-learning and research all the time. When do you think it'll get to the point where it's human oversight always, but when do you think it'll get to the point where it can do all the autonomous work itself?
Did you already look at the slide deck, Paul?
No, I didn't.
No. All right, so on to our next topic, the future of AI and cybersecurity. And so 2 concepts that are still taboo, but I probably see it in a decade or so, right, where we get AGI, the artificial general intelligence, which is pretty much defined as it's going to be as smart as a human. It's going to be able to reason with the same capabilities that we can. Do I believe in that wholeheartedly? Will I trust it 100% of the time? No, I don't trust what my mother says 100% of the time. But we'll be at the point where we can. I know. Don't you worry. When my mom starts to talk to me about AI, no, I think it's coming, right? General intelligence is coming, and then the piece that I don't know if it'll ever come is artificial superintelligence, right? Your Skynet, where it decides it is more capable than we are, and we're in inefficiency, right? So do I think we'll ever get there? I hope not. Do I think it will ever take my job? No, because I'm going to invest in learning how to use AI really, really well. And I would encourage each of you to do that, right? I mean, in our field, it is one of the ways to disrupt your workflow that will benefit you in the long run. You may get less productive as you try to integrate it into things that you know how to do manually really, really well. You're going to lose some efficiencies at the front end. It's going to pay so many dividends on the back end of that. When you do automate processes, when you do learn new things, and again, ask it, this is my workflow, disrupt it. Tell me how to do it better. What steps can I skip, right? Or maybe how do I do all this work up front? And so when I do need to go through it, quickly, it's done, right? Use it to improve your incident response playbooks and things of that nature, right? What efficiencies can be gained? Can I automate categorizing this incident, because if it's a critical, I need to take much faster action on it than these 10 lows that popped at the same time. So the way I see it in the future, right, so defense of the, defense agents carrying out some of the isolation activities at the front end. Can they do that now? Yes. Do I think that they will maybe do that in a more informed fashion to where we trust them to do it with entire networks without, a SOC team sitting behind it? At some point, probably. So self-healing networks, right, that maybe automatically reconfigure themselves after an attack. Maybe a button that you can click to re-VLAN your entire network, right? And then we have the predictive stuff, right? So threat intelligence with continuous analysis. Maybe it's creating new firewall rules because of a CVE that was dropped this morning. And we can go ahead and block the threat actor activity as we see it. And integration with, geopolitical, right? Like maybe we see a lot of threat actor activity from Germany. We do business with them. We want to block them today, right? And we can do that autonomously and confidently that it's the right decision to make. I wouldn't trust AI to do that for me today. Adaptive compliance, like I was kind of talking about earlier, as we see it coming out, maybe it can adapt to frameworks as things are, released, right? They update PCI DSS to 4.2, and next year I don't have to necessarily go implement all the controls myself. And the human AI collaboration, I really don't see it ever going away. Even if we get AGI, it's still going to persist. We're going to need to, still continue to learn and live with it. So I just want to ask my panelists here, before we get into general questions. I know I'm coming up on time, getting my warning here. Do you guys have anything to add to that? What do you think about the future of AI in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so if you look into what Kyle, you pointed out, that AGI part, it's like, it's anybody prediction. It may take 40, 50 years as well, and still it may not happen. That to have that kind of intelligence, what human can bring on the table. But bringing the efficiency on the human, where human is kind of giving that, hey, these are the set of the task and all that. I want to get it handled and all that. One thing is still I want to make sure. Today it's any of the AI, that's right. If you keep on just going into the Gen AI side, just remember that you said human get tired, that AI get tired as well. And so you always, we were hearing a year back and all that, it's like, hey, it start babbling and all that, it start giving you meaningless answers and so on and so forth. That is still the truth, that's right. So you always have to keep in mind that also AI can get tired. So you have to, that's why those guardrails, as well as kind of monitoring it, not giving it a freewheeling hand to go and do everything, because that is where basically it comes down that forget about AGI, but even the workflow, you want to make sure time to time check and make sure it is being done. Or what you should do is you have a guardrail, when it makes a wrong decision, you want to have an alert come out and you go and see what happened. It's like how I got into this state. That's right. So that's something you want to build the guardrail around these things as well in there. And that's something human has been always doing it. It's like many of the tools you make, many of the machines you make, you always create a guardrail around it so that it does not go willy-nilly somewhere. So that's something you will have to do on the AI as well. And just keep that in mind, because AI get tired, it is going to make a wrong decision. So you have to have all those controls before it gets too far. Rein it in.
Yeah. Rob, we're at time. If you have anything important to add, feel free to chime in real quick before we wrap it up.
Just real quick, who remembers just a month ago or so, ChatGPT 5 release? And who was fond of the way things operated on ChatGPT 5? AI hallucinations, they exist. They're going to continue to exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Garbage in, garbage out. It's my favorite phrase. No, if you guys have any questions, we're all happy to kind of chat on the side. Unfortunately, we're at time, but yeah, any questions? We'll answer in the app. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
guys.
you all.
Thank you a lot.